And joining us now for perspective on the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Trinidad and Tobago is Ambassador Virendra Gupta, former Indian High Commissioner to Trinidad and Tobago. Such a pleasure to have you, Ambassador Gupta, on DD India. Well, Trinidad and Tobago has laid out the red carpet for PM Modi, and their PM and President are both women of Indian ancestry, and both are known as Daughters of India. Just how special is this partnership between the two countries, considering their ties of ancestry and kinship?
Well, what characterizes India and Trinidad is not what you generally measure the relationship in terms of dollars and cents, economic connect. But I think there is a huge cultural connect. There is a huge emotional connect. People who went from India as indentured labor 180 years ago to Trinidad, they have remained very rooted to Indian culture, and some corner of their heart flutters for India. So they have always felt this attachment, and I think Prime Minister's visit in a way responds to that kind of yearning in them to take forward this relationship. So I think the Indian origin people in Trinidad, who constitute roughly 50% of the country's population, which makes Trinidad a very, very special country. So I think this visit is extremely important, symbolic, historic, I would say, because no visit has taken place in the last 25 years. I personally feel that we ought to pay greater attention to countries with large diaspora population, because it helps to empower our Indian diaspora. I must remember that Indian diaspora not only plays a very important role in our political connect with the countries where they live, but also in terms of spreading Indian culture. We talk a lot about Indian soft power, the goodwill for India. And that, I think, the people of Indian origin have been playing and can play an even bigger role in promoting India's goodwill and propagating and India's culture. So I think that this visit is important from that standpoint.
Absolutely. Well, Ambassador, PM Modi announced OCI cards, taking the point that you were making forward. And those cards will be issued now to sixth generation of people of Indian origin in Trinidad and Tobago. Will this gesture act as a bridge between the past and the present and continue to spread the goodwill that India enjoys there into the future generations as well?
Actually, I'm very happy that PM has made this announcement, because when I was there in 2001 to 2005, there were a lot of people who wanted to have the OCI cards. But unfortunately, while typically, for instance, a person could establish that his ancestors had come on a particular ship, the ship's documents showed the name of the ancestor. But the link got broken there, because that person could not establish his familial link with that individual who came on the ship, because Indian marriages, Hindu marriages were not recognized, so there was no record kept. And but of course we could see that the person was of Indian origin. The color of the skin indicated that the person was of Indian origin. So we made several suggestions that certification by the local authorities, municipal authorities, but eventually it has happened, and I'm so happy. People in Trinidad would greatly welcome that that announcement from the Prime Minister.
Absolutely. The initiative you wanted to happen has finally seen the light of day in a sense. But Ambassador, will PM Modi's address to the joint session of Parliament and also the conferment of Trinidad and Tobago's highest national honor upon him become historic milestones in the partnership that underscore mutual respect and shared democratic values?
Well, when I look at the program, starting with his welcome at the airport, it is a rare honor actually for a Prime Minister of a country, together with her entire cabinet, to go to the airport to receive. So I think that is a rare honor, which is in keeping with what Trinidad regards India as a very, very special country. I think very unique relationship that we have, which was symbolized. And then, of course, the conferment of the highest civilian honor of the country, and an invitation to him to address the joint session. All these things go to show that Trinidad is laying it out, the complete red carpet. They have been wanting to have this Prime Minister's visit from India for such a long time. And I think, in a sense, Prime Minister, I must say that Prime Minister Modi has been very conscious of the role that the Indian diaspora can play. And he has been increasingly leveraging that connect every time he goes abroad, whether it's America or whether it's Fiji or whether anywhere. He makes it a point to attend the gathering of the Indian community. Indian community can play a very, very important role in countries like America. They have been helping us connect politically. In countries like Trinidad, which really don't matter to us so much in terms of politics of the world, but they play a very important role in promoting India's culture. And I think Prime Minister's visit, as I said, to a diaspora prominent country helps empower the Indian community, helps them encourage, give them a sense of involvement in India. And I think that's very important messaging.
Great. So you've spoken about the cultural connect and the emotional connect, the people-to-people ties between India and Trinidad and Tobago. But in terms of regional cooperation with the Caribbean region and South-South cooperation, what does PM Modi's visit really mean?
Look, Trinidad is an important member of CARICOM, which is about a 16-member grouping. And any reckoning, whenever we try and secure membership or want membership of a prominent organization, for instance, UN permanent membership of the Security Council, when we do that, at some point in time, we will have to stack up numbers. And in that, CARICOM is going to play an important role. So I think we must pay emphasis to CARICOM, and there, our partnership with Trinidad, our unique relationship with Trinidad, Suriname and Guyana, all these three countries are in CARICOM. And I think that can be leveraged, that can be used for, getting our candidacy supported by this group of nations. 16 is a very, very large number in the international community today. So I think that it has to be at the back of our mind.
And also South-South cooperation, considering that India has been a very strong voice as far as espousing issues related to the global South or the developing world is concerned.
Look, India has always paid attention to reaching out to the global South. Whether it was our G20 summit, which was held in India, or our various initiatives that we have taken. In the BRICS itself, which we regard as an important outreach platform for the Global South. We are very particular that the Global South voice must be heard, and they have a unique viewpoint. In very many areas, their interests are not fully being complied with. Take, for instance, climate change. The developed countries are largely responsible for the climate's degradation, but they are not paying the requisite amount of funds, and the entire pressure then comes on the developing countries. So I think developing countries' point of view has to be put, and India is taking the lead. India is trying to create a platform. We also did the virtual summit of the Global South. So whichever way in our diplomatic outreach, in our foreign policy, connecting with the Global South and giving a voice to the Global South through various platforms is an important component, is an important dimension of our foreign policy.
Ambassador, China, we know, is deepening its influence in the Caribbean region, particularly in Trinidad and Tobago, through a combination of economic investments, infrastructure projects, strategic partnerships, to name a few. Trinidad and Tobago, we know, was the first Caribbean country to join the BRI. Is this economic engagement often characterized by asymmetrical power dynamics, where Chinese state-backed firms negotiate from a position of strength with smaller, economically vulnerable Caribbean governments who have less bargaining power? And does India offer a healthier alternative? Also in terms of trade cooperation, where do you see this going, considering that Trinidad and Tobago is strategically located and one can also leverage, with mutual benefit in mind, its ports and logistics network?
Well, I don't think we ought to be too greatly obsessed by China. China has its own strengths, and we have our own strengths. The good thing would be, the better would be.
But from the Trinidad and
if
I may come here, Ambassador, I understand what you are saying, but even from the perspective of the Caribbean nations, the developing world, from the perspective of Trinidad and Tobago, won't it be better to have a symmetrical power dynamic than an asymmetrical power dynamic? Won't they stand to benefit more rather than get caught up in a debt trap diplomacy?
Look, it doesn't matter what we think. When the Chinese throw a lot of money, there would be many takers. The amount of money that China can put on the table is fairly significant for many countries in the Caribbean. And I don't blame them, because if they stand to benefit from a relationship, I think we get insecure that if China makes an entry into a country, the space for India would be constricted. I do not believe in that approach. There is enough for everybody. And I think India has to focus on doing things that suit our USP. There is the kind of technology that we can bring in. We don't enlay the countries into the debt trap. We are very sincere in our cooperation. We try and do capacity building. So over a period of time, countries are able to see through what designs that do you have. We don't play divisive politics in those countries. So I think we should leave the countries to pursue their own respective paths. They have good relationship. I mean, particularly Trinidad. Trinidad has a very, very special, unique relationship with India, and China can't get anywhere near it.
Absolutely. Well said. India believes in what is a quote-unquote equal partnership, really, with countries in the developing world, and Trinidad and Tobago is one such country, like you said. India believes in empowerment of these countries. India believes in capacity building. Well, we'll leave it at that. Thank you.